The story begins with a young man standing above a sea of people in Britain, asking Lu why they aren't sworn brothers if they are so close. He wants to know why he was forced to do this. Lu brings up a full screen with a panel and sound to ask if he remembers. He asks if he remembers how the first great disaster started. Monsters surged through strange portals in the sky and tore everything to pieces. In time, people began calling those portals dungeons. Those who touched them gained powers that became known as classes, leading people to form groups to conquer dungeons and claim victory. That is exactly why he has to kill the hero, because he has lost all control. Even the most powerful class users can tear the Empire's order apart with just a few easy moves. He had climbed above the SSA rank and become the most dangerous enemy of all. This ultimate power belongs with the royal family, for only then can the Empire stay strong and safe. The hero roars, "That is why you took the lives of my family and my comrades." He insists again that it is all for the sake of the Empire's safety. As the hero releases his power, something flies at him from behind and hits him hard, causing a huge explosion. The hero's strength fades away in the blast. Louis admits he sabotaged his armor earlier, and the blast even poisoned his wounds. After facing an SS rank battle, he should have no way to fight back. On top of that, he already had a whole army ready to go. He should take this as one last nod of respect. The protagonist remembers being young by a campfire, thinking it was a sick joke that they'd be brothers for life. Suddenly, a system message flashed on the screen, announcing that the hidden mirror world was awake and ready to wipe everything clean. Hero stares at his own face in the lake just as his spirit slips beneath the water. Decades later, back at the same lake, a group of kids finds a boy dangling from a tree and insists he must be dead by now. One of them punches the boy in the stomach and orders him to stop that dead-eyed stare. They choose to dunk him in the water once more, ignoring his protests that it wasn't a fake and forcing his face beneath the lake's surface. And the group cheered that he would hold on this time since it's his lesson, and the splash of water exploding in his face was absolutely hilarious. But the boy spits out a mouthful of blood and cries out, "Why me?" As he wonders why it's always him, his own soul answers his cry. On the surface, a boy wearing glasses pleads for them to stop, warning that he will truly die this time. But the group's leader says that since he's a singer, he should just heal himself before he dies. But a nerd was a total fake, pretending to be one thing while being another. He was the one who guided everyone to find the boy. If he dies, it's all the nerd's fault since he claims they forced him to do it, but the leader suspects he's just trying to flip the script now that his punching bag has gotten too big for his own good. He lifts his fist and shouts that he is ungrateful. Suddenly, a loud rumble crashes out from behind. Something strange is happening in the river, and it looks like the whole world is starting to break apart. The boys wondered if it was a dungeon and why it had suddenly shown up there. They choose to run away, yelling that a dungeon is right behind them. But the nerd glances back over his shoulder before running away. He's sure the boy is still out there, so he can't afford to waste a second thinking. He must rescue him first, while the dungeon starts flooding with monsters. The nerd wonders why those ropes just won't give. Suddenly, one of the monsters locks eyes with him. The sword swings out to strike, but the hero grabs the nerd by his shirt and yanks him out of the way. He reaches out to the goblin with his ice power, only for the system to tell him he somehow healed a weak demon instead. It didn't work because its health was already at full capacity. The nerd starts screaming in panic, wondering what he was doing healing his enemy. He steps in front of the hero with his shield to keep them safe. Yanxia opens his system and sees his whole class singing. He notices the name Yans and understands that this isn't the body he was born with. Usually, when a new adventurer steps into the dungeon, the system grants them a random starting class that can never be changed. After that, they became stronger by taking on dangerous dungeons and picking up new skills from their special roles. But he was a warrior who had climbed all the way to the very top of power. He realized he had just used the power of the mirror world. After that, he stayed trapped in this world until he finally heard the boy's desperate cries as he hung on the edge of death. He wonders if he's truly awake in this new body. It wasn't a happy thought, but he was still grateful because it gave him another chance for revenge. The nerd yells at Yanni that monsters are closing in and he needs help fast because he can only fight 3 of them. Yanni feels this body is still too weak. Even though he's just a small fry, all of his current skills are completely useless. That could only help others instead of fighting. Everyone else was much better than it. Facing a class everyone despises, he relies on his old fighting skills to survive a few moments, but he knows he must escape before he runs out of energy, so he decides the secret mirror world is his only chance. He wonders how it works and tries to use it on the lesser demon, but the conditions weren't right yet. Ye wonders if the level is too low, or if he needs to bounce off something. As the demon slides over a puddle, he tries to use its power again, but it fails because his level isn't high enough. Yanni dodges the hit, figuring the level is too low, but since the mirror world needs a reflective surface to activate and he can't change that requirement yet, he decides to try a different target instead. He swings at the monster's club, but it misses once more because he isn't strong enough yet. He tries to use it on the clothes, but it fails again, and the nerd screams at him to stop wasting time with his useless skills while shouting that he can't hold on much longer. In a flash, a blinding burst of light floods the dark dungeon. A twisted level 10 Demon King bursts into view, letting out a deafening roar in a language no one knows. The nerd whispers that we're all doomed because a monster this powerful needs a party of level 10 to take down. Hundreds of lights shone on, filling the dark dungeon. The nerd hits the floor, shaking like a leaf with pure terror. A whole army of top-tier monsters appears right in front of him. Yancy tries to pull a stone from the mirror world, but it won't let him because he isn't high enough yet. He figures that if a stone isn't enough to cross the gap, then the divide must be far too wide. Or perhaps there's another reason. He targets the nerd's shield. The system warns him that he can't undo the moves Kyoshi made, and Yan finally grasps what that really means. He wonders if this means he can turn his skills back around. He uses his mirror world skill to twist his entangling vines. Then he unleashes a move known as Chaotic Thorns, and it spreads out over the whole battlefield. Just as a monster swings its huge club to hit the nerd, a red fist smashes right into its face. The demon attacked Kioi, leaving her confused, but Yanni thought the problem was fixed. Instead of freezing them in place, it just made everyone feel confused. Now he realizes that skill makes units suddenly attack whoever they can. Even a skill that seems useless becomes mighty once you turn it around. He wonders if he should turn the rest of them around to see what happens next. The Mirror World skill truly lived up to its hype as a legendary ultra-rare power. It doesn't just flip your opponent's powers, it also gives you a massive boost to your own abilities. If he had used the standard version of the skill, the chance of success would have been tiny and the restraint would have lasted only 2 seconds. But since it couldn't reach its full potential, he turned his remaining skills around, giving Y an enhanced hit ability that boosts a unit's attack by 5% for 30 seconds. He decides to flip it around. Now, as the blade turns trickier, it gains a 10% attack boost for every bit of mana you spend, keeping this power alive for a full minute. He presses the button, hoping it will make his attacks even stronger. As the blade's 60-second timer ticks down, he wrongly believes that just turning on any power will make it stronger. He realizes he's reached level 6 and found strength in every part of himself. Yans thinks that maybe some monsters died battling one another. That gives a decent amount of experience as a demon lunges with its sword, which the hero deftly blocks. He realizes that hitting the next level completely fills his mana bar again. It was finally time for him to try out his secret trick blade. He triggers the Chaotic Thorn skill, and with every beat, the blade's power swells and grows wilder. He keeps doing this spell until his mana runs out. He feels a surge of power with a 120% boost to his attacks and wonders at how fast he reached this peak. This special power shattered every rule. He leaps straight at the huge demon. Yan Xia spins his blade to block the demon's heavy club, then slices it in half with all his strength. Jia Wuji stands frozen, completely shocked by what just happened. He can't believe Yan Xie, a level 5 singer, actually has this much power. With his level 6 stats, 120 mana, and 1 mana per second regeneration, he figured he could somehow reach 2.3 times his attack power, meaning his current strength was just barely enough to fight these elite monsters. Suddenly, a huge red blast shakes the dungeon. The protagonist stands frozen in pure terror as a terrifying level 21 battle Chimera screams and lunges straight at them. Smaller demons chase after them while Chimera charges straight at the boys. Joji screams that this can't be true. Yanshi wonders if the dungeon's toughest foe is actually a secret boss guarding a hidden level 21. He reaches his hand forward toward the creature. Even the wild tangled thorns couldn't keep the battle Chimera from breaking free. The monster was completely untouched by the chaos, and its claw was inches away from his face. Xiaoi steps forward and warns the protagonist to watch closely. He stands in front of him, holding up his shield to take the hit. Yan stared at the boy and suddenly remembered a friend he used to fight alongside. The blonde man shouted that he was an idiot for rushing in without thinking, but the other man never paid any attention. Bai's eyes light up with memory, but a clawed Chamra slashes at his new friend. Choshi gets tossed far away. The Obor Dorgast lunges forward, certain the boy is chasing a deadly fate. He steps up to his friend and uses his magic to pull him back from the edge. He repeats the action, and the boy's health bar fills back up. Yanni thinks the singer's healing magic is terrible and asks if he has any healing potions. He tells him to drink the last one he had, knowing the blade is at 110% power and will last just 8 seconds. The hero thought he couldn't beat the boss, but those monsters were already half dead. This should work, so he tells Qiaoxi to wait just a minute. The nerd looks confused while the hero shouts that he's done for them, then dashes forward spinning his blade until every last monster falls. The hero gains a new level, and his magical energy refills completely. Next, he unleashes Chaotic Thorns that boost the damage to a staggering 400%. But the trick blade was about to run out of power in just 60 seconds, so he had to cast the thorns 40 times within only 50 seconds. This means he has to keep going until he hits level 10. Choi stands amazed, watching Yoni's level skyrocket with every passing second. The battle chimera lunges at the protagonist, slashing with its sharp claws. Yeonsa glances at the window, showing his status. Now standing at level 12, his trick blade has become a deadly force with a power boost of 510%. He shouts that there's plenty to go around and dives in, cutting off the monster's whole arm. He jumps and swings his blade, slicing the monster again and again. The chimera screams in agony as both its arms are torn right off. Ye rips its head off and lands right in front of Kioi. The nerd wonders if he is just dreaming. A level 5 singer had just blown through a brand new dungeon all by himself. Ye hits level 15, and the system pops up to tell him the dungeon is finally cleared. Choi steps up, questioning if that was truly Yan Sha and how he suddenly grew so powerful, while the protagonist simply gets a message to pick up his things. Then he calls out to Cho Shi, remembering his old friend from the past. He leans in and asks, "What's your connection to Qiao Benben?" The nerd wonders just how he managed to remember his great-grandfather's special nickname. Han repeats, "Great-grandfather," revealing that Cho Shi is Xiao Benben's great-grandson. He was the great-grandson of that damn smug-faced man. Ye wondered why none of the people he knew had died because of Louis. The hero believes he should be dead, but Chiyoshi tells him they can talk about him later. If he isn't up for answering, he's perfectly fine just staying quiet, so there's no point in making him feel bad. Ya stares at the word humiliate and wonders what it really means. Chao Shi claims he has no idea, but he's been hiding his true strength this whole time. They need to rush home to get ready, because tomorrow they're heading to the Modern History Museum on a field trip. Yanni pauses to think and decides he can't tell anyone who he is just yet. If he digs too deep, everyone will start to wonder why. The memorial to our modern history needs to keep a record of everything that happened after he passed away. Inside the bus, the students are laughing and teasing each other. Choi glances one way while Yan Sha looks the other. The boy feels like everything has completely changed. After years of death, the world had changed so much that he could now see carriages running on dungeon products, inventions he had never even dreamed of. Some of them he had seen in the dark dungeons back in his past life. But this monster reward was just pulled straight out of a dungeon. At level 14, the boy puts on the legendary Chimura ring. He amused that gear and abilities like these can be pulled right out of storage and even traded for coin in the open world. He unlocked a permanent power that makes his body tough enough to shrug off all physical harm. But these items couldn't be added to his inventory, and once he beat the boss, the dungeon vanished along with them. He wonders what the world looked like after he was gone. Outside the bus at the museum, a teacher points out the statue of Emperor Lu Wei, the mighty ruler who saved them all from the dungeon disaster and stands right behind you. He thinks many students know that this very spot was the battlefield of a rebellion about 50 years ago. Back then, when dungeons tore the world apart and everyone lived in fear, the arrival of the most terrifying, top-ranked dungeon monsters made that fear even worse. King Lu Wyatt led his army himself on a dangerous quest, and even though they lost many brave soldiers, they finally took the dungeon. Just as he turned the corner, a trap was sprung on him. And the one pulling all the strings was Yan Shet. The hero's face turned dark, revealing that the man the king trusted most had become a treacherous enemy. The hero thought he was the one who cleared the super hard dungeon, but then the same guy suddenly attacked him. The teacher says he can't even picture how much it hurts to get betrayed right then. But the king stood tall against the darkness, fighting with his blood and courage. In the end, with Ding Khan by his side, he finally crushed the rebellion. Ye whispers the name Ding Khan, wondering if such a person was real at all. The troublemaker from yesterday popped up at the museum to ask how those guys could still be alive since everyone saw the dungeon appear. His friend asks if the dungeon has been cleared, remarking that there must be a powerful person nearby. Yan Shay thinks it must be incredible luck for that to happen, and she wonders who those people are. The students huddle together whispering about Ding Su and the new dungeon. They can't believe he made it through that mess. Ding Su grabs Qiao Shi's shoulder and tells him he is lucky to be alive. But this was the very man who had dragged him to the dungeon in the first place, and now he demanded to know how Chaya would pay back that debt. The nerdy boy snapped back, insisting that Ding Su was to blame since he was the one who caught them and tried to kill Yan Cha. Ding Su scoffs and asks what's wrong with his head since he clearly doesn't get what's going on. He points him toward the statue standing right in front of them. That's his ancestor kneeling before the hero, a traitor named Zine whose own descendant is now doomed to stand alone with no one on his side. Ding Su yells that he can trash him but never his ancestor. Shoei is shocked to see himself twisting the whole situation around. A crowd gathers to see what's going on. A student tells the story that Ding Su's grandfather is the hero Ding Khan. The man standing beside him must be Ko Shi, the descendant of Kon, a traitor's kin who is now insulting the hero. His ancestor was a monster who had already killed so many that without the hero stepping in to stop him, countless more would have lost their lives. Ding Su insists he can speak his mind, but he warns that insulting his ancestor right in front of him is a line he won't cross. The teacher steps forward, promising to be fair and speak up for justice. He needs to say sorry for what went wrong. The hero let his family live, so if you can't be grateful, you shouldn't speak to him rudely. Xiaoxi stands there, completely speechless. Dingsu clutches his head and urges him to look around, noting that even if he beats him up right now, the crowd will just cheer. That's because no one will ever help a vicious dog like him, especially one everyone already hates. Even as the hero's own blood, he still believed he was to blame. He steps forward with his fist raised and shouts, "This is done for the honor of his ancestors." But he can't let this slide, so a hard kick lands right in his face. Ye easily knocks Dingsu down, which impresses the nerdy boy, and the protagonist jokes that the hero's family must never have taught their kids any manners. The crab wonders if that really is Yanshi. He acts like a totally different person when he can hit Dingsu like that. Is he mad? Now he's even insulting the hero's family. They know he is just a weak level 5 student, but he still dared to punch the hero's grandson. And that poor guy has no parents and no friends because he's so stupid, and honestly, his brain must have finally given up. Dingsu stands up, wiping blood from his face, and tells Yanshe that he's nothing more than a punching bag who should be grateful he hasn't come for him yet, especially since Yanshe dared to strike while he wasn't looking. His friends step forward and promise they will take care of both of them. Ye just murmurs as he weaves through the attackers to knock out Dingsu's lackeys with a single hit on each, but the hero's grandson collapses to his knees. As he spits out more blood, the people around him just start laughing and snapping photos. The boy stares in shock, unable to believe that a young boy could have beaten him. They say he was knocked to his knees so easily. Dingu isn't as strong as he seems. The hero's grandson roars with fury, slamming a skill that boosts his attack by 25% while screaming that a tiny level 5 trash monster couldn't possibly be this strong. This lucky hit had the boy slamming his fire hammer into the protagonist while charging. Ye simply says he has too many openings. He hits Dingsu on the chin just as his special blades grow 80% stronger. Dingsu can't believe what she's seeing, and just when she thinks she's figured it out, another hard kick sends her crashing to the floor. An officer steps up to the brawl and asks what's going on and why they're there. People wonder if Dingsu actually lost to a healer. The crowd whispers that he should be just a level 5, yet he doesn't act like one at all. He must have been holding back his true strength. The officer shouts that fighting isn't allowed in the hall and asks the teacher if he can't keep his students in line. The teacher walks up to the brawl, shouting that Yanshi has insulted a hero and attacked his descendant. He pulls out his weapon, shouting that he is shameless. Yanshi shifts his ring, but the Chimmer's form breaks through the teacher's weapon like glass. Every single person watching is left speechless. Ye exclaimed, "You're calling a teacher shameless for being fair, yet you only hear Dingsu's side, and it looks like the teacher is just trying to please our family." The teacher spotted the ring and realized that even without using all his power, the student had still been stopped. Ye chuckled, saying it was just a friendly nudge and that the teacher wasn't the type to be mean. The teacher clears his throat and promises to look into the fight, while wondering just how much support Jans has. The hero gazes at the broken ring and realizes that even this legendary item was left behind by a level 21 lord. The group took a heavy beating from the level 35 teacher, who announced that the punishment for their failure was immediate expulsion from the hall. He turns to Kyo and says, "Come with me." The nerdy boy sprints toward Jans while the crowd cheers, shouting that he just blocked a teacher, a feat no other student has ever pulled off. A teacher yells for a student to cast a healing spell on Dingsu, and one of them steps up to do it. Standing outside the museum, Yan wonders if any of his old friends are still alive. He then gazes at Kiyoshi, who stares back at him with pure admiration. He knows Xiaoxi will answer him instantly now, so he admits what he doesn't know and asks about the hero Bing Khan. Xiaoxi repeats the name, unsure if the tale is true, yet he clearly uncovered Yan Qi's villainous plot before anyone else. He then set a trap at the top-ranked dungeon to crush the rebellion. Yan thinks hard about the trap waiting by the dungeon. He recalls the night he and his friends sat upon a vast sea of corpses until knights in armor arrived to slaughter the rest. Jans lets out a furious scream as the memory flashes before him. Koji keeps telling how the hero Ding Khan dreamed of solving the dungeon crisis from a young age and trained hard to make it happen. After the king made him a hero, he spent years protecting his land from disasters, including the terrible destruction of Winterfell. The hero thought about it and realized he was the one who fixed the crisis. Then he asked about the sword held by the statue. Toshi claims that this sword, which resembles a top-tier weapon, is the one used to put Yansa to death. Ye realizes that not only were his glory and achievements stolen, but they even took his sword, so he decides to kill Ding Khan. Outside the Ding family's walls, guards patrol the city. Suddenly one of them looked back, but it was just Yan Sha and Choi passing by. The blonde guard turns around, grumbling that it was just a bunch of kids. He hints out that the guard is always on the lookout, which means he must have some special patrol skill. Kyoji urges us to run, shouting that so many guards are waiting, and even if we sneak in just as Dingu returns, we'll be doomed. The main character decides to rush in and end Ding Khan, the hero's life right away. Kyo spends his entire time locked away in a high dungeon where, unlike before, no one can just walk in anymore. The high-level dungeons are now locked away and guarded by the army, so you must get a special pass to enter. Regardless, the Ding family must have one of those passes somewhere in their house. He then wonders why the family needs so many guards since there are only about a dozen of Ding Khan's descendants. Choshi reveals that they are all the hero's grandchildren, who even own a dungeon on their family land. The protagonist feels lost and wonders if a dungeon is hiding somewhere inside their own home. His nerdy friend mentioned that low-level dungeons could be bought and sold privately, but it was something ordinary people with no power could never even dream of. With his guards always watching, Ding-su can train whenever he wants, while students like him are stuck to just the practical classes. Yanni notes that the world has shifted, so now wealth and power let you reach much higher levels, a point Choi backs up by saying most normal folks stop at level 15 or 20 after school because they can't enter the dungeons to grow further, but if they take a related job like a dungeon guard, they might hit level 30 by age 50, which is about the same rank as the guards at the Ding estate. To grow stronger, you must enlist in the army or join a group like a guild. Only then can you step into the dangerous high-level dungeons and climb even higher. The hero realizes that to grow stronger, he must master this move. Shoshi suggests they turn back because the gap between their strength and theirs is far too great, meaning even Yanshe's amazing skills won't be enough to fight them. Yan knows his current strength isn't enough to beat the hero, let alone Lu Wei. He realizes that even with their patrol skills at level 30, the guards are too lazy and only cover a tiny part of the mansion, which is more than enough to slip past them since this isn't a deadly trap. But can't help but wonder how anyone could possibly call them complacent. Yanni feels that while the elite patrollers in high dungeons are flawless, these guys seem much more relaxed. Choshi insists that even if they get in, they'll just die for nothing, asking why they should wait there until the protagonist tugs him by the shirt. He asks the boy if he really wants to stay the same or change his life. Choi agreed that he would definitely join a guild if he could, but Yanni wondered if that would truly change things, especially since he's the great-grandson of a traitor. The boy looks down as the protagonist urges him, saying that you can only change your destiny by acting now because you can't bet on a future you aren't willing to fight for. At least he won't let a dungeon right before him go to waste, but the boy still has to decide if he'll follow. He wonders if his friend's family will make the same choice. Jiaoi gulps, stands up, and follows the protagonist, thinking he can't let him get killed. Yanni whispers for him to stay silent, pointing out that there are no signs of any summoned guards nearby. They whisper and jump out of sight just right. He can slip right in. Choi points to the dungeon entrance that goes underground, noting that this level is a bit higher than the last one. Yan Shen points out that monsters are few because Ding-su's family keeps them from growing too strong. Shoshi stepped up to face just 2 tiny monsters. The nerd questioned the point of fighting with no chance of winning, yet he blocked the monster's blow, while shouting that he couldn't believe he had trusted him. But a zombie lunged to take a bite, and Shoshi muttered that he shouldn't have come. He just wanted to get home, so he raised his shield to block another monster. Yanni urged him to fight back, and when Choshi asked how he could find a moment to strike, Yanni explained the way. Choshi took a deep breath and brought his shield down hard on the zombie. Just as the other attacker lunged from behind, the boy spun away just in time. Yanni thought everything was unfolding exactly as he had expected. Even though he was a timid fighter who panicked easily and could only defend, his incredible talent for judging exactly where everything was in space made him surprisingly dangerous. It was as if danger couldn't really hurt him much, and he couldn't have asked for anything better. Most folks just stopped in their tracks because they were too scared to try something new. Yancy moved in to fight the monsters, believing his friend's grandson had started the fight. Xiaoji realized he had reached level 7 with 3 points left, and the protagonist explained that experience is earned only by fighting back, meaning he wouldn't have gained any points if he had given up. Yanni swung a resentful bone sword that could deal 62 attacks and 11 spiritual hits. He noticed how smoothly he moved and thought about where he had put his points, while Choi explained that aside from spirit, he spread them out evenly. The protagonist said that shield bearers usually don't get extra points for agility. Choshi said that if he didn't try, finding a party at school would be impossible, even though everyone thought he would be slow until the monster suddenly attacked them. Yanshi explained that he had to plan for the long haul because once they reached level 60, the Bastion Fortress would demand so much stamina and defense that he couldn't just throw their points around randomly. Chaji said most folks just dream of reaching level 40 because level 60 was S rank and completely out of his mind. Yanni gently tapped his shoulder and told him to keep that new mindset in mind, but not to let Srank control everything, realizing that he must now plan his own path to the next level. His support class was only strong because of a secret power he kept hidden. If nothing weird happens, everything is likely to change. He realized his mirror powers had grown stronger by 2,000 pieces and could now be leveled up. Some time later, the sword found its way into more zombies. Yanni crushed them all with ease and stopped the moment his special blade powers ran out. The zombie lunged back to fight, but the hero slipped away, sure he was still in one piece. His special boost to his strikes had vanished. It felt like the power of Trick Blade was finally fading, for even though it was strong, it couldn't last long in a real fight. He couldn't keep fighting forever, but he was growing stronger quickly and had already gained 2 levels. He realized that slaying those monsters sent experience right into the mirror world. Then he noticed that something was slowly backing away. He noticed that the Ding family's guards were keeping a very close watch, moving back and forth through the area all the time. He wondered if anyone had spotted them sneaking in, and while Shoei noted there were fewer monsters around, he still felt the danger was real. The hero felt certain he was right, yet he had to keep an eye on the guards battling while his mind raced to time the Trick Blade's boost, and all of it felt like too much to handle right now. By watching how the book dropped or how he blocked intangible things in reverse, he knew he still needed to gather 30% more power to unlock the mirror world. Even at the very first level, that reverse power was already wild, and he couldn't stop imagining how unstoppable it would become once it evolved. He glanced down, hoping that killing the dungeon boss would jump him straight to level 2. Since the other dungeons don't give skill points, he needs to look in the boss's central zone to find them. He saw that the rat and crow calls were happening more and more often. He turned around to see a monster tied to a throne, while a group of heroes came running toward him. Shaoxi claimed it was a controlled dungeon boss, marking his very first encounter with one. The school's dungeon boss had teachers guarding it, which means the teachers must be really powerful. Yanni watched the many guards moving in the dark and realized that trying to kill the boss right now would be a bad idea since there were too many of them to succeed. A guard was holding his business against the cold dungeon wall. The hero lunged at him from the shadows, waiting until he had dealt with the guards first. The guard bled out and was knocked to the ground. Yanni declared he was about to question him for the facts and warned him to start talking. The guard shook with fear and promised to tell him everything, even though the Ding family hadn't paid him enough to die for them. Yan Sheath felt that simply asking was his main goal. The guard told us that dungeon passes weren't rare because the old master kept piles of them. He convinced himself that this man had to be a crazy fan of his hero grandfather, and it turned out he was right. He had watched the old master hand over those temporary unregistered passes to the head guard for study, knowing that without an inside helper, they would surely be questioned about them. The hero told him not to worry and to clear out his bags first. Standing outside the dungeon of the Ding family compound, the protagonist wondered if his only book on singing was the one he held in his hands. The guard claimed the Ding family were too greedy, so they took almost everything and left them with nothing but scraps. After the sun healed him, the protagonist learned its baptism and gained a tiny boost to his defense. By flipping that power around, he gets a quick burst of extra attack power for 15 seconds right after he heals himself. The guard walked him to the Ding family's inner home and explained that no guards could step inside without a special invite. Everyone except the young master Ding Su was over level 30 with great gear and didn't need extra protection as guards. Ye wondered if the pass was truly inside the house, but the guard insisted the family leader was waiting within. The guy with the mustache was level 42, and I knew for sure I would lose to him. The old master and the third leader are both level 50, but they are currently out on business. Things would get way scarier, and Yingge realized the inside part of the place was guarded by a dangerous level 42. He knocked out the guard, called for Kiyoshi to hold his ground, and figured he only needed to bait the enemy out. He headed back to the boss room, where high chains kept the dungeon alive as long as the boss did, guarded by a special key mechanism.
It was so incredibly safe that nobody even tried to open it.
The hero silenced the guard by pressing his hand over his mouth while pointing the sword right against his throat. Everyone in the boss area stood frozen in shock. Yanni knew this trick would force the family leader to show up, so he pulled out his combat chains. The boss stood up and asked the adventurers what was going on. Outside the Ding family home, the leader steps up to bring fresh troops down into the dungeon. Iksha stood far away, watching it all while wearing the guard's armor. After grabbing a level 60 weapon, the protagonist thought, now I can walk right into the inner house without any trouble. As the second master and young master stepped into the Ding family's inner home, the butler greeted them right at the front door. Ding Su said he had to say hello while looking his part, but Dinghe, who was level 42, added that saying hello was a different story altogether. He swung the car's back door open for missing Anna and gently asked her to step out. A blonde girl and a dark-haired girl strolled together side by side. Dinghe opened his small door and welcomed them in. Then he spotted someone blocking his path and kicked them, shouting for them to move out of the way. Choi kept his eyes on everything from a safe distance away. Ye suddenly popped up to announce the Ding family had returned and urged us inside, though he noticed the stranger look on our faces while Cho asked how we managed to finish so fast. The protagonist chuckled, noting that a dungeon boss like that was too tough to catch even at level 30, so he didn't need to interfere since they wouldn't defeat it quickly, and then he asked what I had seen. Shaoxi looked down and said that the person was his youngest uncle, Charlie, a level 17 warrior. Even after Yan Shi's rebellion cost his family their lives, they were still forced to endure the shame that came next. Yan Sha stared in shock as the Chio family, secretly guided by the hero Ding Khan, found their lives under the Empire's cruel rule growing even harsher with every passing moment. In the end, they had no choice but to bow their heads and serve the Ding family. While the hero's family would sometimes show off their strength and kindness, the Cho family had no choice but to keep their heads down and endure to survive. His father's time was also spent dreaming of changing the world. As a result, his father went mad and his uncle completely bowed to the Ding family. He paused, wondering if following Yan Shihir had been the right call at all. The protagonist insisted on heading to the inner residence and kept walking, even as Chio Shi begged him to stop, warning that Dingu's father was there, fully armed and a powerful level 42 warrior, and that getting caught there would mean certain death. Yanni warned that in this age of controlled dungeons, taking no risks means your life will be nothing but wasted time. And with certain tasks, if you hesitate and worry too much, they'll never get done. He could help Choji get ready, but Choji had to make his own choice first, and even if he decided not to fight back, he wouldn't force him. Choshi boasted that his family ruled the world with unmatched power and worried if he could ever stand up against them. He declared that his true enemy isn't just one man, but the whole empire. So he stepped forward and walked away. While lounging in the comfort of his room, Ding Hao wondered exactly how the dungeon lord managed to snap those bonds. Dianza asked if now was a bad time to stop and suggested they could come back another day. He denied it by saying his older brother could handle it, even though he wasn't more important than her. He explained that once they heard she was on her way, his dad and third brother turned around to come back. Handling this would be the easiest part, especially since they'd already called the hero grandfather who couldn't wait to meet her. The hero stood back in the shadows, listening from afar and wondering if the man he heard was truly Ding Khan. He realized he had to get a pass and an escort before going into the hero's dungeon. Looking at how people treated her, it was clear she held a very high status. Yan Sha carried the same Yan family name as he did. He wondered if it was just a coincidence, but for now he had to focus on the pass. The black-haired girl spotted something moving far away. As the maids chatted as they passed, Yan Shi slipped into a room. He slipped through the shadows until he stood before the library. The third family leader claimed he finally beat the dungeon boss, even though releasing such a dangerous foe with evil intentions should have left a trail. But since he found no trace of anyone else involved, he knew it couldn't have been just for a single piece of gear. Dingji commanded his family to circle the inner home first. For now, the young girl was just visiting, and he couldn't let anything happen to her. Yanni wandered through the mess, convinced there was nothing but trash left. He used his power to make a brick-sized thing fade away. He unlocked a drawer to find some diaries and wondered if they were skill books of the highest quality. Ending at the gate of the inner residence's Ding complex, Chioji wondered why all the guards were running that way, and if they had been found. The crowd was swelling, and if Yan Shi didn't run right now, he'd be trapped with no way out. And if he didn't run now and they found him, they'd have another excuse. He remembered being just a child when they broke into his family's home. He could just hang back in the dark corner and save his own skin. He started moving, hoping things would turn out that way, until he suddenly remembered what Ye had said. He yelled as loud as he could just to get the guard to notice him. Everyone turned to see exactly where he was. He sprinted away, certain he was leading them on a chase that would never end, convinced they could never catch him. Yanshe shattered a window as he fled, then risked a quick look back over his shoulder. He realized he had finally grown beyond his old limits and decided to fight back. He yelled that he had the chain and the skill books, telling them to follow if they could. As the guards started running away, my new power kicked in, freezing everyone within 20 meters of me. It also worked in reverse, speeding up friendly creatures within 30 meters. The second leader yelled for squads 2 and 3 to come back and guard the dungeon boss, proving he wasn't fleeing but charging straight for the danger, which made Choji wonder why he was guiding everyone the wrong way. With most of the guards gone and the dungeon boss finally under control, things were finally turning in their favor. They must have fought a massive battle to hold the boss down, which means it's running out of health right now. If I take its life, I can make my mirror world skill stronger. Inside the waiting room, Yansa noted that it was noisy outside and that her uncle didn't need to stick around with her. Timmy shrugged it off, saying it was just a petty thief his older brother could handle in a snap. The family leader yells at them to clear the path and charge straight for the boss, because moving slow won't get them anywhere. He runs ahead, screaming for the assassins and archers to chase him down to take down the enemy. He realizes someone is chasing him. He thinks that every time a class levels up, it gains 3 points, and he just gave half of his points to his agility. Plus, he's got a special power that lets him zoom ahead. By the time he reaches level 30, even the fastest archers and thieves can finally match his speed. The hero faces the greedy paladin, who is hurt and bleeding. He realized the flaw was built right into the seal, and that split second was all he needed to strike. He must unleash his biggest attack right now to take down the enemy before the adventurers can gather together. The hero lunges ahead, his wild spikes leading the charge. Everyone there wondered what that strange skill was, since they'd never seen anything like it before. This power hit you with a weird effect that made humans feel like tiny ants next to the monsters. They wondered how such a spell could be used so easily by a mage to fight an entire army. The knight asked how this could be, since the skill's strange power was off the charts. Young Shed steps forward, his hand white-knuckled as he grips his sword. He realizes he can push past this crowd to reach the boss, who is already getting weak. They are yelling that he's there and can handle the crowd, but the shield bearers just couldn't stop him. The hero thought to himself that his team was a messy bunch with no real experience in fighting together. After holding out for so long and almost losing, the rest of the group screams for them to keep going since there's still just one person left. If they land just one hit, he's done for. The family shows up and shouts for them to grab him. Denny steps up and says he will handle him. He swings his fire axe right as the hero turns around. The protagonist swings his sword, thinking here he comes, and mutters that even if his level is too low to use the item for its stats, it's still worth it for its durability since it's a level 60 piece. He holds up the chains to stop the axe from hitting him. He realizes that by unleashing this huge force, he can smash right through the seal's barrier. Then he sees a gap, and with a cheerful ding, he goes through. He thanked him for the shove and called him a bastard. The hero slashes down the dungeon boss, believing he will claim all the experience points. He crushes that boss so easily that he jumps 3 levels in a single breath. With his mirror world skill already at its peak, Dingy is ready to level it up as he charges his axe alongside the other adventurers. Ye glanced at the system screen, activated the mirror world ability without upgrading his skill, and disappeared just as the axe was about to strike. Everyone stands in shock, realizing that everything they knew has vanished without a trace. Deep inside the mirror world, the hero stood completely alone. He knows he has stepped into the world that lives inside the mirror. He has 30 more minutes of his mirror walk to go. It made sense that the whole place was a reflection of reality, except for the guards, who seemed like nothing more than tricks of the eye. But they weren't just tricks of the eye. He bends down to grab something off the ground and sees that a shiny mirror stone is right there to take. Once he reaches level 2, he can pull things straight out of the mirror world. He wonders if the whole system will change too. Inside, he spots every skill he can use. Then he sees that a few of them are still waiting to be turned on. His basic skills stayed locked away, acting like the opposite of every power he possessed. Before he can master those special powers, he has to learn the basics in the real world first. This had to be an upgrade. It was like he could pick out powerful skill combinations beforehand, letting him map out his journey step by step. Then he spots something right behind him. Some spirits wander about. The main character wondered if anyone else had been there too. A dead thing lunges straight at him. The protagonist can't figure out how the soul turned into this mess, so he swings his sword and shatters it into dozens of pieces. He thought it wasn't strong, but then something suddenly appeared right in front of him. He has an undead contract that lets a creature step out of the mirror and fight for him, and it is a level 15 power. He believes that once he vanquishes the ghosts, he can bring them outside to serve as his summons. It turns out level 2 of the mirror world does more than just pull items into reality. It can even bring ghosts, and while someone outside shouts that the dungeon is empty, the guy still hasn't come out. They wonder if he vanished using a rogue stealth trick, but an assassin insists it's impossible because stealth only lasts for a short time, meaning he can't stay completely hidden forever. Indy grabs his head in frustration, wondering how anyone could let him slip away while so many people are watching. He warns that if they can't find him, they'll have to pay back the dungeon fee before the protagonist snaps back to reality. Everyone turns to look as Ye shouts that his mirror walk is done and he's back where he started. Dingy shouts for them to catch him, but the protagonist stops them, noting that after taking the hits for so long, it was finally time to give it back. He lets go of dozens of spirits, calling his new ghost army. The scary creatures move closer to the soldiers, who stand frozen in confusion trying to figure out who they are. Dingy shouts to keep calm, reminding them that these ghostly monsters are nothing new to him, having faced hundreds of them before. The ghosts crash straight into the shield bearer. He sees their health bars and realizes they are only level 20. Dingy tells them not to panic and to strike back, promising a special reward to anyone who manages to catch him. But the hero had already disappeared from the dungeon, leaving everyone to wonder where he went. Jans thought that these ghosts were still lowly. If he could summon stronger monsters, this chaotic band of misfits would be no match at all. But out of the ghosts he found, the 20 strongest were already taken, and the mirror world only lets him move 200 meters before the path ends. He must travel to a new spot in the mirror world, hoping to finally catch sight of the Heil monster. Outside, he sees a guard tightly squeezing Kiyoshi around the neck. The guard grumbled that Kiyoshi is a master of hiding and likely thought he'd slip away, but who knows what reward he'll get for finally catching him. He swings his blade across his own belly. Kiyoshi sees this, and Yonsei yanks him by the shirt, shouting that they're leaving. Chaos had taken over, so it was time for him to head back and count up what he'd won. The Ding family's army steps in to battle the ghosts and sends them fleeing. They say these creatures aren't that tough, yet they keep coming back from the dead until they finally vanish. Dingji, the third head of the family, stood tall. He claims they are summoned monsters that will steal the caster's life force if brought back, so they must kill him as quickly as possible. Another man inquires if Ms. Shah has come back. While inside the main house, Ding admits he couldn't keep her there because the intruder was simply too bold. He didn't just run around their home, he even smashed a window in it. Dan admits the intruder slipped into their inner sanctum, vanished without a trace, and left them clueless about his motives, yet they simply own up to the mess, while Mission Sha has already pledged to clear up the hero's dungeon trouble before their grandfather's legacy crumbles. Ding Dan sighed and declared that once they find the culprit, they must put him to death. His son needs to rush over and see what got taken. Over there, Yan gazes at a temporary card bearing the name Kyo. He noted that he had everything he needed, except for someone to guide him into the hero's dungeon. But there was no need to hurry, for looting just one house had already pushed him up to level 20. Even with his Chimera bone nearly shattered, he still managed to grab more than 10 skill books from the private collection. All the chants they shouted were special skills that helped them win. After he learns the battle chant, the shield Chen finally unlocks. With this by his side, he'll easily wipe out anyone his own size just by using his skills. The boss had left some gear out earlier that we'll need to use later on. Most importantly, his mirror world skill had just leveled up to 2. The dark magic he called upon could not make him strong enough, and the gear he wore demanded he be an S-rank berserker, a title he did not yet possess. He must summon a spirit at least his own rank in level 50 just to have a chance at killing him, and Cho's wonders if they're about to get caught. The protagonist tells him to relax, saying they've probably lost sight of those faceless figures already. Cho's lets out a quiet sigh and drops his gaze. The year shows he was restless, and since it's tough at this age, he calls out to him. He asked if any nearby dungeons were where a powerful being had died, hoping to find a high-rank one to grow stronger. Choi explains that while a powerful figure once died in a dungeon, it belongs to the school, and no one can sneak inside. Yanni believes the dungeon is under one ruler's control, so he must use his own special tricks to handle it. In another room, he hands the teacher a few books, and the teacher asks if they are meant for him. The teacher realizes Yanni needs powerful allies to help him, noting that the list of who can enter the dungeon is already decided but will open for graduating students. If a student really shines, a teacher can recommend them to join the tour team. He'll do his best to fight for the hero's place. Some students say this might be their final dungeon, so they're rushing to kill as many monsters as they can, all because the hero's gift gave them this rare chance. Uni felt that something was off about this dungeon. The teacher told us that this was the valiant dungeon left behind by a hero, and rumors said he once fought there, leaving his mark inside the walls. Dark, Xie creeps around quietly while thinking about what just happened. He believes the valiant dungeon is where the hero finally defeated the traitor Tia. He needs to tell Yan Shi about this. The teacher warned them that the dungeon level was dangerous, but don't worry because little C will look after both of them. She asks if leveling up this way is even possible, but the teacher just tells her to stop complaining and head into the open dungeon right now. T grumbled that it was a pain having to deal with 2 dead weights. He warns him to stay close and keep quiet once they get inside. Nani suspects this dungeon is deadly, ranging from level 20 to 40, and feels a strange chill about it. While inside the Valiant dungeon, Sayu realizes that Yan Sha and Yun Yin are here for a reason. 2 fresh graduates stepped out of the school gates together. She spins around and tells him that he has 2 rookies as well. He wished he could trade them for Yan Sha and the others so he'd have enough energy to walk the girls home. Maybe he could even go on a date with them, he thinks, letting a little drool fall. But his colleague tells him to stop dreaming because they are alone high above level 30, and soon he'll be the one asking to be carried. He didn't belong with them anyway, so she just says he knew it and was only playing along. Then he glances over to see the girls coming his way. Yu steps right up to Yanshi, leaving the protagonist feeling completely puzzled. He guessed that the dignitary at the Ding family's house was looking at him because she knew the original body owner or was close to Ding Su. The girl says she saw him at the memorial yesterday, and he didn't sound weak at all. Ye is so confused that she thinks she was just babbling nonsense. She said she could spot his voice instantly, even when it was mixed with the loud sound of breaking glass. She suddenly realized she knew him because he had said those exact same words just yesterday. The girl in her witch costume says that since they've said hello, they'll just call it a day for now. They'll head out to explore first, and she'll be staying with her friend. Ye let him know she recognized him but chose to keep it quiet because she was trying to warn him. Ding Su must have heard his voice by now too. But the Ding family wouldn't be chasing him anytime soon, and with his fast leveling speed, he had nothing to worry about. Since they were being nice, he decided to do the same in return. The protagonist warns her to be careful since this dungeon radiates a deadly vibe. The girl admitted that, upon closer thought, the place did feel a bit strange, proving him right. At her level, things shouldn't feel this way, so she thanks him for the warning. The other students whispered in surprise, noticing that this Yan Sha looked nothing like the cold person they usually knew. They ask him how he knows Yan Sha and if he can bring them to meet her. The protagonist apologizes and says they should be heading out now. The others doubt he can go alone since the weakest monsters here are level 20 and would kill rookies in one hit, but she stops them and says to let him go because his strong standing with young Sha means his level is probably not low at all. The other students say that Professor Lai told them to look out for one another, so they are wondering how he could have done that. But C reminds him to keep the true purpose of their visit a secret because knowing too much could be dangerous. These rare crystals had to be shared, but since everyone already had signal flares, they didn't need to worry about them. She can't help but wonder why that boy is hanging out with Yan Sha, acting like he has a secret plan, and his confidence makes him look like he's walking straight into trouble. As soon as they reach the dungeon entrance, Ding-su rushed forward. The professor asks why he is here at this hour. Ding-su wondered if the team had just arrived, and the professor confirmed it while asking what Ding-su was trying to do. Ding-su told his father about Yuchen and Cho-shi, but his dad warned him not to mix his own troubles into this just because he got beaten at the memorial, and while the young master insisted he saw them and heard their voices, his father still wouldn't let him press the issue. The intruders slipped past his guards too easily, and that's something no student should be able to do. His first uncle insists they must have been strong enough to beat the guards and tells Ding-su to leave him alone. The family head nodded in agreement, explaining they were in the middle of talking about something very serious and that he shouldn't have stopped them. Ding-su won't stop until he steps into that dungeon. The hero slices through the level 20 stone monsters, blocking his way like they were made of butter. He takes down the level 30 monster with one sharp thrust and lands a few more quick hits. Then he summons Kiyoshi, and the shield bearer activates his power, creating a protective barrier that holds strong for 3 full minutes. He leans on his own talents to help the hero get stronger. Yan Sha springs into the air and slashes the beast one last time with every trick he knows. With only 7 seconds left on his blade, he rushes in to hit the creature's weak spot and brings it down with a final strike. The hero gains power fast, and Kushi smiles, noting how well he has improved. Ye realized that the Ding family had taught him not only how to raise a protective shield around himself but also how to shout words of encouragement that could lift anyone's spirits. Kiyoshi knew these were easy tricks for him to pick up right now, and with monsters that tough, his skills made the fight so much smoother. The professor warned that this dungeon hides a rare monster called the Obsidian Beast. By beating it, he unlocked the gravitational pull support skill he had been waiting for. There would also be phantoms waiting there, not just the obsidian monster. He ponders how many mighty heroes died down here and hopes he can finally find their remains. Just as Yanshe looks down, he spots something below him. He spots a dark creature taking shape in the Crystal Pillar Canyon, where other dark beasts have already gathered. Yanni feels sure that many powerful obsidian beasts are gathered together. They had walked just 1 kilometer past where the guards were supposed to stop. Wander attack monsters were a rare breed. They weren't rooted in one spot but seemed to pop up everywhere across the map. They were tougher than most monsters you'd ever meet. And before people became strong, meeting a wandering monster meant certain death. They could slip past the dungeon's walls and start wrecking human towns, bringing endless disasters in their wake. But a danger was worth it, because the treasure and skills they dropped were far better than what normal monsters could offer. These monsters were powerfully fierce and nearly impossible to defeat. He had to test them out first, so he swung his blade at one of the obsidian creatures to see what would happen. He turns to see the monster healing itself over and over again. Other creatures fire their monorays at the protagonist. Yans dashes forward, with Koji's protective shield wrapping around him like a second skin. He gets struck by a Monterey while believing the enemy's attacks are coming too fast and often. Even though he moves super fast, they won't let him slip away from everything. With his health and defense so low, he would have taken a terrible hit without Kyo's shield holding him back. So he sends out his ghostly helpers to fight the monsters. He realizes that even they couldn't hold the front line, proving it's no good. The good news was that those monsters didn't move very fast. He won't get his strength back fast, and his defenses won't improve anytime soon. To beat the monsters, he needs Koji's stronger protection after leveling up, so they plan to fight ordinary ones to get better. Yan thought that since the monsters in this usual area were weak, now was the perfect moment to help Choir get stronger. Out on the front lines, a shield bearer was absolutely vital to the battle. The other classes hung back to deal more damage and keep everyone safer. By pouring all his points into defense and wearing the stolen armor from the Ding family guards, Travaji had become a true shield bearer capable of fighting level 20 monsters. Yan shouts for him to steady his feet, set his guard, and push his shield forward to meet the strike. Josie obeyed his orders and blocked the blow, only to notice that the shield was wearing down with every passing second. Yan shouts for him to watch the next attack, but before he can, he gets grabbed. He lunged forward, sword raised, ready to strike the creature. He warns him to stay ready for the next attack and not to swing his shield too far to the side. He'll hold that trick in reserve for the next time he needs to take a hit, staying alert but keeping his body loose except when he tenses up to defend. He pats him on the back, promises to watch his own rear, and reminds him that a shield bearer must always keep a sharp eye on the friend standing behind. Jiaoshi grins and blocks the blows, while Yanshe reminds him that when stats are even, it's skill that decides the winner. After battling the monsters, the protagonist levels up to 22, giving Cho-shi the confidence to face stronger foes and earn even more experience. Cho-shi boasts that he has reached level 15 and can finally master this skill by equipping his shield armor. Yan realizes this is the final book he ever takes from the Ding family, meaning Cho Shi can now use it. Alongside equipping extra armor on his summoned shield, he boosts his own defense with this skill and is now ready to face elite wanderers. They turn their steps back toward the Crystal Pillar Canyon. 3 professors note how many wanderers have appeared and worry about where they came from, since it's too dangerous for the students. Lian claims they can take on normal level 30 monsters, but these wanderers are far beyond that until he spots a student's signal flare nearby. Lei jumps up and insists we save the students first, warning that the wanderers are far worse and what if a student wandered off on their own. Pang Jiang says that if this is the case, he will stay behind. Lai says that as long as old Bai stays, everything can be fixed without a scratch. But Yanshe jumps in, urging them to keep their eyes on him and warning that even 2 professors might not be enough to pull off a rescue if they're needed. Lai shouts to them, and the protagonist notes that these slow wanderers haven't spotted us yet. As long as they keep their distance to watch, all will be well. The professors nod in silent agreement, and Lai joins them, declaring that these monsters are too dangerous for him to handle alone. He is told to stay hidden because if he is seen, there will be no way to run away. Ye slices one of the creatures, sure they can't get away now. In the background, he is swinging at this massive monster that is like 10 times his size. Still, the MC slices the beast clean in half. According to him, a hero is someone who saves their friends, but Koji raises his shield to block the attack, and the hit stops right in front of the phantom. Even though the blade slices right through him, the hero finally cuts the obsidian monster apart. He dashes forward toward the last 3 of them. Thinking only 3 were left, he sliced the monster into pieces. As the creature fades away, a soft light glows on the ground. The boy thought to himself that he had managed the wanderers just fine and was finally starting to feel at home in this new class. Even now, he was still far behind where he used to be. Even with his strange new powers, he can still make his attacks a little stronger. But his support class still hit too weak, so he wished he could just boost his attack power a little more. After taking down the giant monster, he levels up his skills as an adventurer. Jans realizes he has leveled up again thanks to the rare elite monsters, and the system prompts him to pick up a new item. The hero steps forward and grabs a strange item that leaves him wondering what it could be. A crystal-long sui word dealt 5t2 damage. The hero realizes this is just what he needs to make up for his weak basic attacks. With the fight made much easier, he swings his blade. Yun sighs that his luck isn't bringing him enough drops, but then he spots a red light in the sky that reminds him where that strange signal came from. Their Cornelius professors carried that special flare that lit up the level. Lai blocks the attack with his shield and studies the scene, puzzled by why so many wanderers are gathering there, while a group stands near a rock to defend themselves against the incoming assault. While others watch from afar, Yansa sees a crowd of monsters gathered and wonders what on earth is going on. The man admits things aren't clear yet, but they rush to save him after spotting the signal. The signal was coming from the cave, meaning they were trapped inside. They tried to organize a rescue, but there were too many monsters, and even with all the professors working together, they still couldn't win. It would have been wonderful if she had helped them out. Yansha tells them it's her duty. She readies a star of magic, then swiftly casts her glowing mystic art. The team's courage and power surge as they shout that this is a mighty skill, easily worthy of an epic rank. Yansa presses down on one of the obsidian monsters using the crushing weight of gravity. Her sister completes the monster by driving a secret spike into it. The group shouts that they're strong enough to save the trapped people now. It turned out to be even more wonderful than anyone could have imagined. Young Shaw thought that everything, not just the tools, was so advanced that the team could handle anything even without him there. He wonders what magic could pull so many wanderers to gather in that place. He says he'll go check things out while Kiyoshi stays with these folks for the time being. He steps through a mirror to cross over to the other world. Ye noticed the place was covered in crystal mirrors, letting him slip in whenever he wanted. He hadn't figured out how to come back to reality at the Ding family's home yesterday. He would have stayed gone once his time ran out, walking around believing only humans have ghosts while monsters are just physical creatures, unlike the living souls in the mirror world who have no real bodies. He realized they were the ones drawing the wanderers to this place, and his name was Shidoki. They trudged through the abandoned wasteland, where danger seems to have fled, leaving them safe for a while. He didn't know why so many wanderers were drawn here, until he saw the crystals guiding their steps and wondered how such strange items could be here. That crystal ore was so special that it made perfect sense why Kiyoshi and his friends came to this cave. While crystals from the outside world are ordinary, the dungeons inside can make special stuff you just can't find anywhere else. Experts who know how to live can use these tools to build cool new gear and handy accessories. These ores were exactly what they seemed, with a value that matched or even beat the gold inside them. The system tells him he can grab the mirror crystal ore and walk back to the real world right there. Yanni silently repeats the words "return" to bring herself back to the real world there. They wondered how that could happen. This mirror-like portal let him appear wherever he needed to return. There's so much to discover with this skill, and he really needs a chance to try it out. Now, he must first explore this new place. This much war was strange, because digging up all this ore could make a normal person a billionaire, which explains why so many wanderers were gathering here. Outside, Yansa unleashes a gravity spell on the obsidian beast. Youngyin ends the fight with a flashy spin of her 2 blades. The group of adventurers wonders if their amazing skills are truly as powerful as the professors claim. The girl slashes down on one of the obsidian monsters, cutting a safe way through for the professors. The third-year group says they are finally safe after thinking they were about to lose their lives there. Yam Yin warns him not to relax, reminding him that they still have to fight their way out while everyone is exhausted. Sha says this will be easier than before, and then takes a moment to look at something new. The third years shake with fear whenever they think about that place. A huge group of wandering monsters block their path. They wondered if every person wandering the dungeon had finally gathered there. In the mirror world, the hero slices right through a stone wall. He says it feels just like a real maze. Then he spots a strange building with a glowing crystal sitting on top. Yanni wonders if this might just be the dungeon's hidden treasure. If those mixed up crystals are special items, then the crystal core has to be the one real treasure. He reaches out to touch the glowing green ore, knowing that this rare treasure, which takes forever to form and most people never see in a lifetime, holds a special power just like every other secret treasure he's heard about. He quickly realizes that this special gift makes him stronger and helps his energy refill much faster. The braid made him tougher and more durable, letting his stamina boost his health, and his better mana let him unleash the trick blade. Most of all, it cut the damage from light and electric attacks by a full 20%. Even the finest gear rarely offered percentage-based damage reduction, yet something odd seemed off about that one. It felt like the glowing crystal ores were pulling wanderers in, and with such hidden riches waiting, the dungeon surely held monsters tougher than them. He makes his choice to spend the hidden treasure and vanish right away. But the system tells him that keeping or using the item will cost him 10 minutes of his time in the mirror walk. Outside the mirror world, the group of adventurers stood frozen in shock. Yanyin and Sha had never seen anything like it before. Suddenly the wall above them bursts apart to reveal a massive monster, far bigger and scarier than the obsidian beasts. The group wonders if this mysterious secret boss might actually be the leader of the wanderer species. A wandering lord could stand alone as a rare secret boss, separate from the dungeon's main ruler. Its power matched or even beat a normal boss, leaving both teachers and students completely helpless. While a shield bearer guards the area, the group whispers that those wandering lords only show up in the deepest dungeons. They can't imagine what kind of dungeon would let a monster like that in, and if things keep going this way, they're all going to die here. Dale takes a deep breath before speaking. She screams for everyone to stay calm because the only way out is to stick together and get moving. They could slip right out through that canyon right here. If they manage to escape the basin, they'll finally be free from the dungeon. She wields her starlight magic to urge them to unleash their full power and surge across to the other side. He nods and activates his light-bending shield, insisting that the students must get out at the very least. He started out, then they took turns leading the way to push the group forward. The wandering lord grabs a student and tries to crush him with his hand. They held up a wall of shields to catch the blow and keep the damage down. While the mages chant spells from their books to boost the shield-bearer's defenses, they work together to make him nearly unbreakable. The fight against the black creatures was so fierce in that place that it felt like nothing else could win. At the exact same moment, every monster unleashes a man-beam while Yansa screams for them to stop, insisting it wasn't enough. The obsidian lord roars in battle and shouts orders to his minions. The monsters nearby hear the call and start moving toward us. As it steps closer to the group, they start to wonder where all these monsters are coming from. The obsidian lord radiates a crystal glow that boosts the health, attack, and defense of every minion around it. The group is amazed to see how much their strength grew. Lai shouts that the damage is too high and they can't kill fast enough. The teacher pleads for his life, but hundreds of blinding laser beams slam into him. Another colleague goes into panic, screaming that a teacher has died. Yan Sha yells at the shield bearers to hold the front line, while telling the priests to focus on healing. She realizes that everyone is tired and barely hanging on, while the wandering lord hasn't even taken a single real step yet. The group shouts that it's pointless because at this speed, they'll never escape. The assassin slips into the shadows to run, yelling that everyone must fight for themselves now. He charges straight through the middle of the creatures. Lei yells at the student wanderers to stay back because their stealth will soon wear off and they won't make it far enough to escape. The student dashes right past the wandering lord. Lei spots something strange on the lord's back. He spins just as the obsidian lord is about to blast a beam of magic at the student. They warn everyone to keep their eyes on the monster as it attacks. He screams that the lord has turned him straight into ash. The group stands firm as their shields struggle to hold back the attack. The student screamed in anger, but the force of his shout knocked him right down into the canyon. That attack was so wild and impossible that there was no way out for them. The obsidian lord fires its mana beam right at the student who is shouting it's over, and this time the deadly ray is aimed directly at him. They can't stop it, because Yin and Sha push right through the shield wall and appear before them. They call out to his giant stone shield, which blocks 3,000 points of damage. The shield strains hard to block the hit. Ya screams for the strongest among them to grab it, warning that failure means they're done for. This level 70 shield was incredibly tough and unbreakable, but nobody was strong enough to wear it, making it too heavy to carry, so they only bought a little more time. The shield bearer asks why such a monster guards the school's dungeon. He figured that if they just held on long enough, help would show up, but this time, there was nothing. He's glad those two kids aren't here to face this danger. Then he spots Cho Shi holding the shield up alongside the others. He ponders whether they should have left the valley, and asks himself how they ended up here. Ya shouts for him to watch out as the Dark Lord's strike comes right at him. Choi raises his heavy shield to protect the teacher, but a fierce beam from the enemy slices right through it. The teacher felt his defenses had crumbled first, leaving no one to stop the wandering horde. Kiyoshi slides his shield across the path of the wanderer's punch, turning the blow away. Lei believed the boy could block hits without delay, but his shield bearers had all been destroyed. With their defenses shattered, Kiyo's shield and armor were both broken. The wanderers gather their magic energy to blast him. Lei thought they had no choice left but to hope for the best, only to be shocked when the protagonist burst onto the scene and slashed everything in his path with his sword. The teacher's face suddenly glowed with joy. Yanni tells us that Kiyoshi did a great job. He reaches out, but the hero tells him to leave the rest to him. Yansa rushes forward, convinced that being level 24 makes it easy to sidestep the monster's attacks. With a total mana of 140 and a recovery rate of 2.6 per second, his attack power surged by a massive 330%. Trickblade was fully charged at a massive 180%. The protagonist can't believe anyone would dare challenge the Wanderer Lord, a creature far stronger than even the dungeon boss. He has to hit level 30 before he can rest, so he dives into the mirror world to cover the rest of the journey. Just as he stepped out of the mirror world, the hero landed a flurry of sword strikes on the monster. Yan Shay insists that Choshi did a great job and tells him to let Yan handle everything else. He pushes his foot down, opening and closing the mirror world to move. He yells out to his support team to power him up so he can fight off the wanderers. Yan Sha nods and casts her starlight magic. Choshi throws down his seed shield right as he puts on his armor. The hero slices up more wandering souls into tiny pieces. He grows stronger, convinced that being surrounded by so many of them will make his power surge even faster. All you can see is a blur of fast, sharp cuts flying past. She thought he was just a bold thief, never guessing his strength would be so amazing. Yin stood frozen, staring in shock at what was happening right before his eyes. Everyone just watched the hero vanish and pop back in as he jumped in and out of the mirror world. Every monster he slays makes his power grow faster and faster until his level soars all the way up to 28. Lee warns him that the fight is lost the moment the Wanderer Lord gets closer, because no matter how strong he is, he simply can't stand against the Lord. The shield bearers warn that the twin shields are too heavy to carry well, and if they shatter they'll leave them open to the Wanderer Lord's deadly blows. The group whispers that if they move, they'll become easy targets. Ye repeats with confidence, "Leave it to me, he'll strike and slip away before they can catch him, giving them a chance to run." Lei warns that if they keep running, the protagonist will soon be left far behind. Ye realizes that if this wandering lord isn't stopped, he'll collect monsters from every dungeon and march out into the world. Back in the old days, most of the world-shaking disasters were caused by the wandering lords. If he stays to fight, he must end this monster's life. His trick blade is now at a total of 350%, and his mirror walk has just 5 minutes remaining. The group sprints away at top speed while Lei screams that no matter how tough he is, the protagonist will eventually run out of energy fighting so many monsters. The faster they get away, the sooner he can finally leave. The shield bearer wonders if Lei won't kill the Lord, but Lei replies he was likely just trying to calm things down. After all, they were talking about the wandering Lord. Choi feels useless and can only run now, hoping Yoni will be okay. The hero slashes through the monsters with no trouble at all and goes up a level. He slips behind a monster using a mirror trick to dodge magic blasts and slashes the level 42 beast with his sword. Hero sighs and shakes his head, knowing the monster's thick armor will just soak up his weak hits before it heals right back up. Just as he expected, he still had to get out of there. That glowing crystal sitting on the Wanderer Lord's head is his heart, and since it is his heart, it is also his weak spot. And it's possible his attack just isn't strong enough to win. Dodging as he hits level 29, with only 5 seconds of the Starlight Mystic Art left. Yanshi realizes the bus he got is running out and his mana is so low he can't keep his trick blade going. He has to grow stronger before he can face the challenge. He sees a strange light glowing right in front of him. Yanshi guesses what it is just as the Wanderer Lord's hand moves closer. He uses his mirror walk, hoping to guess exactly when he'll show up next. Then suddenly his health began to slip away fast and terribly. Yanshi feels that his time on the mirror walk is almost gone. If he doesn't move away, the clock will run out. He can only send his phantoms out to block, but bringing them back will drain his magic and leave him too weak to boost his attack later. He pauses, wondering if he should turn back and join the group first. The hero sees something strange starting to take shape right before his eyes. He wonders why the young girls in Kyo have returned. Yosha told us that the little boy knelt down and begged so hard that they had no choice but to help him. Choji explained that they had enough people to flee safely, so he talked them into returning to help. He smiled and gave them thanks. Yo warns that the hidden boss is way too dangerous, so they'll protect him while he backs away slowly. Yanni steps forward to end the argument, slicing through the monsters with ease and declaring that with their help, there is finally no reason to hold back. When the protagonist hits level 30 just as the mirror walk timer expires, he realizes he's finally arrived. With his strength finally ready, he puts on the corrupt knight's armor he took from the Ding family. He asks if he plans to attack the creatures we are pointing at, noting that at this speed he won't make it there in time. The hero finally felt he had what he wanted, thanks to a new power that let him pull anything straight to him. He flips the force to gravity, pulling himself toward the target. Yanni believes this power will catapult him straight to the monster, so he boosts his trick blade by another 30% and promises that everything is under control. He points the way for the wandering lord and pulls him along with a wave of his gravity. He dashes toward the creature with impossible speed and halts just above the bus crystal. Diansa and her sister's jaws drop as they stare at the amazing feat. With his super strength, the hero lands a few sharp cuts. Soon, the other rocks start to move and get pulled right into it. They pile onto the boss's back as the hero's health drops fast. He keeps charging forward and striking even as the massive attack hits him hard. Then, with a final twist, he splits the crystal cleanly in two. The system chimes in to tell him he's finally taken down the Wanderer Lord. He earns 5,000 experience points and gets the new title, Slayer of Wanderers. It also sheds the legendary Golden Light Shield and Angelic Protection skills. Their hero shoots past 3 floors in one leap. Shuji tells his friend how mighty he was, and Yansha agrees, saying he beat that scary monster all by himself. Yan shouts that they dropped 2 legendary items. But then, suddenly the weight inside it moves. Yan shouts that the beast is crashing down, so he warns Yanshe to stay on top and be careful. The hero sprints away as fast as he can. The beast hits the ground with a crash that breaks the earth apart. Yan spots something close by while looking into the hole. Deep inside the hollow mountain, you could find pieces of stone scattered around. As the hero slides down, he whispers that he is nothing but the broken remains of a wandering race and the people who once walked among us. This thing looks like it came from the time the strongest wandering lord was born long ago. That's why his face is covered in deep battle scars and he is left wondering what happened to him. A body lay at the top, and Shia was defeated, sword still in his hand. The protagonist just stares at his old friend, who is kneeling there. Young Sha leans in and asks if this person is the traitor they've been looking for. She knew this was where he lost to Ding Kun, but she never imagined it would turn out that way. Watching the crowd stretch out like a sea while the squire hung on tight. It was a fierce fight between monsters and humans, totally unlike the calm statue in the modern hall, and this person didn't look like someone who just fell to their knees. Yanshe stood silent, staring at everything, while thinking hard about his life. Shu admits he probably won't believe it, but he can't help thinking his great-grandfather wasn't such a bad guy after all. He spent all his childhood digging into the secrets of his great-grandfather's past. Even though he only found fragments of his story and the descriptions were blurry, he did manage to uncover a few details. He always stepped down into the deepest, darkest dungeons, far below his own level. So why would an S-rank hero who was over level 60 risk going to a low-rank dungeon, only to find out that a wandering lord was waiting there? This creature caused most disasters and could bring all the dungeon monsters into our world, and back then, the government didn't have enough soldiers to stop them. So they had to depend on a handful of strong and capable experts to clean up the dungeons on a regular basis. His great-grandfather was one of them, and he came here to stop the big disaster. The rest of the group stands stunned by what they just saw. Chivuji admits he might be wrong. His family says he's just seeking some peace of mind, which is why he speaks that way. Young Sha gives his shoulder a gentle squeeze, smiles and tells him he believes him. The girls are amazed, but Choshi just stares at his friend. The protagonist smiles to himself, thinking for a moment that his friend wasn't the kind of person to cause harm. Huron would hop up on a bar table to loudly declare that he didn't need a master and that the old user should retire, yet deep in the dungeon, he'd scream for his master to save him while fighting off dozens of monsters. Outside, he'd ask who called for a rescue, telling them not to ask him again next time. Shaolin worries he's been caught once more as he slips on his armor. He works hard behind the scenes just to show off in front of everyone, promising that he won't let the dungeon put anyone's life in danger. He picked the sword guard, a job for the lowest class of squires. But even though he poured his points into strength and speed, this class had no other shield to call its own. He would stand at the front of the group and say the old Jesus was really good at finding him. He ran away from all the wandering creatures, but he couldn't resist gaining a few levels along the way. Yan declares that saving lives is his purpose, and thinking of his friend, he's ready to risk everything against the Ding family. At the Ding family home, the elder asked his nephew if he was speaking the truth. Ding Su shouts that anyone who doubts him can ask the dungeon's teacher, praising Yuni's incredible performance, even though the teacher blocked the entrance until everyone inside had finally come out. The adventurers claimed they saw the wandering lord tumble from that way. Someone must have missed all the noise and chaos. That person probably knocked them out. His name was Yan Shui, and that was who he really was. The heads of the family stop talking the moment they hear this. The elder rises and commands all the Ding family guards to gather and follow him to the traitor's dungeon. He told them to wait just a moment because a bratty kid from the Kyo family was with him. So he commands them to bring that entire family with them too. Found in the dark dungeon, the hero grabs the glowing shield book. He gives the item to Chiyozi and explains that anyone can use it because it has no level requirement. Yan Sha says this legendary skill is basically free for his friend. The protagonist replies that it's a secret power only for squires, so he can't learn it, but he guesses his great-grandfather used it all the time. Ansha boasts that he truly isn't missing out on any powerful skills. Her skills were impressive, but compared to him, she was still miles away, especially with that move that vanished him and the other one that dragged a whole army of ghosts into existence. Ye shouts out the word ghosts over and over. He's convinced the souls he remembers are real, along with others who have followed him into the mirror world. He spots something strange and steps through the mirror, which he had only just fixed. He stares up at the mountain peak, wondering if he can make it work. His knee-deep friend stands up and Yan shouts Ben's name. Outside, Yan Yin warns them to go now, for the ceremony audience is about to begin. Yusha says they've spent so much time here that staying around was clearly more interesting. Everyone was wondering just where in the world the protagonist had wandered off to after vanishing for so long. He gazed down from the mirror world. He walks up to Ben Bennett and says he never expected to meet him again. He wanted to tell his friend it was all his fault before the darkness swallowed Kyo. That dark energy turns him into a new monster, and the hero realizes it won't answer his call anymore. He is turned into a ghostly spirit, refusing to fight as the shadows wrap around him. Yanchi pops out of Koji's eyes and asks if those were all the memories of his old friends. The moment Ding Kan cowardly struck him, Yan Shui felt a strange familiarity in his stance, but his memories shattered like glass, leaving him wondering what on earth had just happened. He shouts for Ben, but Cho Shi springs forward with his sword to strike the hero. Ye yells for Ben as he backs away, doing nothing but blocking the sword strikes. He realizes his only instinct left is to fight, so he decides to run away until the system tells him he can't escape anymore. The protagonist, noting he had no choice but to fight, stepped up to the challenge. Outside, Choji spots something and the Ding Elder asks why he's all alone, joking that his friends probably ran away, while Chiyoshi shouts at Ding Su to ask if he's coming to try and get stronger too. Big Dinji shouts at the Chao family's scumbag to stop lying because it was actually him who dragged Yanxi into his home and stole his stuff. Shai claims it wasn't him and insists he made a mistake, but Su asks if he can't tell the screams of that nerd from anyone else. The nerd freezes in shock when he hears those words. Shinji waves those worries away, saying none of that matters, and instead he hands the boy a small gift. Chose finally understands what has happened, staring in horror at his whole family gathered there and hurt, while the shy kid screams for his uncles, grandparents and even his mom. His second great uncle shouts at him to get down on one knee. This little rascal is forced to apologize to the hero's family and young master Ding Su, but he grits his teeth and tries to say he's done with it. That uncle says he taught him how to behave with the Ding family while he was growing up. Shoshi declares that his people belong to the Kyo family and will never serve as the Ding family's dogs for generations. His family is shocked, and one uncle drops to his knees, declaring that for them, his descendants being called dogs is fine enough. His aunt begs him to think of his father, warning that the whole family will die if he does not listen. He's lost his mind and should really understand how tough it is for his mom to keep the family going. Choji stayed quiet, but pointed his family to the truth behind him. His great-grandfather had sacrificed himself to stop a disaster, not betray the country, and Choji finally held the proof he had been searching for. The truth was far from what they said, and they should finally tell everyone to clear his great-grandfather's name instead of letting him live like this. The Ding family had no right to treat them like this. His family needs to act right now, because the other branches shouldn't have lost their lives for this. Ging Jae burst out laughing, calling it all childish and right on the money, and he was spot on since everything he said was absolutely true. His great-grandfather Qiaoan got caught in a surprise attack, even though he wasn't a bad guy and it was actually his grandfather who luckily ambushed him from behind, but nobody ever paid attention to those details. Qiaoan was a terrible imperial traitor who did wicked things. The traitor's family must remain lowly since everyone knew the truth, so he shouldn't even speak of the lives lost. Jingji commanded everyone to kneel, and the Ko family dropped to their knees without a single moment's delay. The nerd's mom pleads with him to stop fighting and admit he was wrong, saying there's no point in resisting anymore. After his father went crazy, his mother is terrified of losing her own son next. She couldn't stand it, so Kiyoshi gripped his fists tightly. His mother warned him to ignore what others say because he was the greatest of them all. Jingsu heard this for the very last time. He tries to kick him, shouting that he is useless and demanding he kneel whether he wants to or not. Choshi effortlessly sidesteps the attack without even needing to block it. Then he grabs young Master Ding's leg and tosses him to the ground. Chosu stands tall and promises he will never bow his head to anyone again. Dingsu takes a deep breath, raises his hammer, and vows to teach his opponent what it truly feels like to be a punching bag. Choshi just hits the young master right in the face with his shield. The boy wonders how this could be, and Choshi shouts to his mother that they are the children of a hero, not a traitor. Dingji watches in awe and wonders how he managed to grow so powerful. He charges ahead, shouting that he's just been a punching bag he's beaten since childhood. He wonders how the nerdy kid dares, but the nerd just knocks him to the ground with his shield. The family watches in silence, and Kiyoshi whispers that the man they see is no longer the person he once was. In the mirror world, the hero clashes with his old friend, trading a few hard hits. He realized that this was Bin at his peak, and the difference between them was massive. If he were in a defensive class and lost his cool right now, he'd get knocked out instantly. As things got better, Ya kept thinking he was the one who had taught him all of his fighting tricks. He knows his flaws, like his back and his hand. But since he was really only level 60, that fancy blade did him no good at all. Bin unleashes a massive fiery explosion using every bit of his strength. The hero believed he had finally found the legendary golden light shield. It really hurt to watch this kind of thing happen. Outside, Dingsu swings his heavy hammer with a shaking ground and shouts "bastard" as he charges at the nerdy guy. Kyo didn't care a bit, so she hit the young master's face one more time. He keeps pounding him down even after he's hit the floor. Shinji warns that little Su still can't beat that brat. His uncle would fight back with every bit of strength he had to make up for his anger. The punch crashes into his shield, leaving Dingji shocked and forced to retreat when he realizes it's glowing gold, while Choji warns him to read between the lines and see that the hero's family are cowards who refuse to fight alone. Yen slices through the golden light shield with his special trick blade. He realizes this skill isn't just a defensive shield for his strength, but also a counterattack that challenges his stamina and can take a hit of at least 10 strikes. But since it was a skill that ran out, he only made a few cuts. Even the tiniest scratch drains its power, and once it hits 10 hits, it shatters with a loud ding. He breaks the shield and asks if it matters that he has the golden light. Besides, even if he had used that trash, he wouldn't have cared. Chose holds Su and warns Ding that if his great-grandfather were here, he'd be begging for mercy right now. Just then, Ding unleashes a burst of power that throws the boy backward, leaving him scrambling to protect himself. He can't fathom how a simple fool who died in a small, boring dungeon could possibly matter. Even if he stood here right now, he'd force him to his knees with a shockwave of gravity. XY hammers his shield into the dirt, forcing himself to stay on his feet. Denis grabs his axe and wonders how the boy will stand after he cuts off his legs. He moves closer until the boy's mother steps forward, begging him to let her son go because he's just a young fool. She offers to kneel and says he can do whatever he wants with her. Dii sneers that if this brat won't kneel, he'll kill her mother, so he swings his axe and tells her to drop it since he has plenty of other lives to take. Shouts for him to hold on, but a huge cloud of dust swallows the fight whole. His eyes go wide with surprise now that the dust has settled. The whole Kyo family just stares with their mouths open in total shock. As Dinky questions whether this is Kyoin's resurrection, the hero's shadowed spirit steps forward to protect his great-grandson. The mother shouts for the great-grandfather. The adventurers whisper that the traitor has come back to life, baffled by how he could have returned. His family whispered that he looked like a ghost this time. Then she said they had all made a huge mistake by thinking they knew everything about him. It was plain he had crawled back from the dead just to settle the score. Shannon stands still while Dai yells that it's all a trick and tells his men to come get him. The brave adventurers rush toward the old hero, who stands ready to face them with his mighty armor and special powers. He easily stops their attacks using his sword and shield. Then he moves forward and easily cuts down each adventurer. Kameli whispers that he is so strong that Xiao Nen is completely overwhelmed. Choi thinks to himself that this blocking move, which manages to fend off so many guards, is truly amazing. Dengi laughs off the idea of summoning ghosts, reminding everyone that he's already sent that same trash back home, though back then he was only level 33. He moves forward, yelling that even if that's Kone's spirit, it's still nothing but garbage. Chao An holds up his shield to block the hit, and even as Dinky keeps charging forward, the hero pushes back with every single attack. He grumbles about his blocking trick, knowing it won't stop the hero's overwhelming strength, so he charges forward with his blade to fight him. His shield suddenly bursts into flames, but it's actually just the shield's special golden light trick. Ye says that even though Ben was a ghost, he was still so strong that his golden light alone kept Dingy busy for a long time. Dingy screams for his whole army to charge at once and smash through the energy barrier, only to realize they're all already busy fighting ghosts. Dingy clanks into his armor, muttering that this feels a bit too troublesome for a simple fix. Whether they are Kyo or ghosts, they are all just summoned spirits. He charges forward, shouting that killing the summoner will make the summoned creature vanish. The man readies his strike, convinced he finally has the legendary armor his grandfather left him. Yanni believed his own strength was enough to win the fight. Just when the battle raged on, Dingy suddenly got cut by a sharp slash. He tries to turn around, confused about how he suddenly feels so helpless. He keeps slashing Yanshe with his claws until the enemy disappears. Dingy looks down and sees he's gone, but before he can do anything, Yoni drives his sword straight through Dingy's back. The man screams so loudly that everyone is pushed back. Ye pulls back with Xiao An drawing her blade, opening a path for their master to push forward. Ye slices a clean line right across Dingy's body. He screams that he's a useless bastard and tries to turn away, but Yanshe keeps swinging his sword, landing fresh cuts on the family head as he pushes forward to end it all. Dingy screams out for his arm, which is now lying cut off on the ground. He shouts for a priest to save him, but Yanshi creeps up behind him. The man tries to send out a powerful gravity wave to knock him back. Suddenly Yan pops back into view from far away, leaving no trace behind, and asks if anything was wrong or if he was scared. The old man calls the priest back again, wondering why he still hasn't healed him. He saw the priest getting beaten up by a ghost. The ghosts crushed the whole army. Yanshi questions whether he truly believes the ghosts haunting him are the same ones at his home. He channels his reverse malefic possession and declares that their legendary skill makes them far stronger than these guards can ever handle. Dingy feels a sudden spike of fear and takes off running. Xiaolan drives his sword and shield into the dirt to seal off every escape route. Jingxi freezes in fear as a massive wall of swords and shields suddenly rises all around him. He steps up to reveal the secret absolute sword and shield move, a special skill shared only by a select few. Nobody under Srank has ever gotten away with it, but he's up to it if he wants to. Bingji raises his device and tells him to stop coming closer. He grips a void bomb, a legendary S-rank weapon passed down from his grandfather, and insists that if it detonates, Yanshi's sheer endurance won't save him from death. Yanxia simply nods and says, "Go ahead and blow it up." Denny reads his own words aloud, noting that Yanxia is walking straight into danger, but thanks to his massive health bar, he could easily survive the blast. Yans answers that blowing up Benben is no big deal because he can just bring him back to life. He then lunges, declaring that Ding won't even be able to land a single blow. He cuts off Dingy's other arm, causing the void bomb to tumble to the ground. Yanni commands him to drop to his knees, and the man obeys. Xiaoxi watched from afar as Ding Su trembled in fear, seeing his uncle beaten so badly. Yanni presses the hilt of his sword right against the back of his neck. He asks him what a value he has to leave behind. Hey everyone, did you enjoy the story? I really liked it. If you want to follow the next part, make sure to subscribe to the channel and leave a like. See you in the next story.